Padres fans, we got to talk about some injury updates and the fact that the Friars are going to be getting arms back before the season is over and how that could possibly affect the trade deadline. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Padres Digest. I'm Christian Pedersen, the one that many of you are very confused as to, do I have any actual knowledge of baseball? It's okay. I get it. Drop a comment as we go through all this. If you could hit the subscribe button, it would be much appreciated. If not, no worries. Let's talk some baseball. I want to talk about the injury bug, and I want to specifically talk about some things that Mike Shildt has said recently about our starting pitchers that are going to be returning, Michael King and Joe Musgrove. And I also just want to take an overall look at who is on the IL, because we've been talking trade so much in the last 2 weeks, 2.5, maybe last month, depending on when you're watching this. But trade deadline is right around the corner, and many of you are saying, well, a lot of you are saying different things, but many of you are saying that the Padres need to add pitching. The Padres need to trade pitching. The Padres, it all seems to funnel through pitching. Yes, I know that there is the talk of adding a bat and all that, but pitching is usually how the championship discussion is had. So was talking about this interview that Mike Shildt was talking about a bunch of stuff, but at the end, he talked specifically about Michael King and Joe Musgrove and their potential, or actually no longer potential, but their very likely, if not imminent, return to the San Diego Padres. Now, there's two tiers there. Michael King, I think, is much more of an impactful return than Joe Musgrove, so let's talk about Michael King. The Michael King injury has been a nerve thing that has gone from he slept funny and he's out a day to we don't know if he's coming back to now he is pretty squarely listed as somebody who is aggressively planning a return for an August return. Easy enough for me to say, hard enough for you to follow. Apologies. The tests revealing over the last few weeks that his shoulder is structurally sound is fantastic. And then in that interview where I was showing you from Mike Shildt talking about it, he talked about how King has stayed in San Diego when the teams have gone on road trips, and he has aggressively pursued his rehab and recovery. He is throwing bullpens. August, as of us recording this, is 6 days away. So I would say, let's put I got to talk to my boss at Digests about us putting a countdown clock on some of these, get a big old graphic. But I'd say let's put the countdown clock up. Michael King's going to be back. Is he going to come back at full strength, half strength, quarter strength, no strength? It's really impossible for me to say, because a nerve injury is just something that it's unique to everybody's recovery. But I really confidently believe that him, from all of the groundwork that he has talked about returning, being aggressive, this is a guy that wants to come back and pitch for the Padres, but also wants to, this is him dancing for his bread. He is into free agency next year unless everybody takes the mutual option there. So assuming that he's going to hit the free agency market, he wants to pitch as well as he can and make some pretty good money. His numbers before he left was having a fantastic season. So an August return for Michael King is a huge positive for the Padres, because I do think that right now our trade lens that we have on is like, oh my God, we need starting pitchers. We need them. We don't have if we add Michael King, not saying that fixes everything, but I like the trickle down of, even if we keep Cease because we just can't find a deal that's appropriate for trading him, going Darvish, King, Pivetta as the 1, 2, 3, and putting Cease into having to take on the 4 starter from an opposing team in a playoff scenario. Because right now, the Padres are in it. They are, as of us recording this, 4.5 back of the Dodgers in the West, and they are also in control of that last wild card spot. So I am saying all of this considering the Padres a playoff team. You guys can argue about whether or not just making the playoffs is enough, or if we need to retool, rebuild, refurbish for a more like, oh, we ran away with it kind of season. But right now, I'm talking about the Padres as a playoff team, and a playoff team that is going to get better because of Michael King coming back. Joe Musgrove, what's the status there? What are we talking about? He has plans as of the last week of August to throw his first full intensity bullpen. That's a weird kind of jumbled word salad of like, what does a full intensity bullpen mean? It means that he has thrown a couple of times off the mound. He's thrown long distance catch. We've seen that. We've seen him throwing off the mound, but not like cranking it all the way up to 100%. Keep in mind, he's coming back from Tommy John. So anything that we were going to get with him this season anyway was going to kind of be icing on the cake. But if we are talking about some of these trade packages where, you know, I've seen some where it's like, let's trade Suarez, let's trade Yuki, let's trade Bogaerts, let's trade, like, pitching is potentially going out the door, coming in the door. There's a lot of different moves, and Musgrove, 2026 getting Joe back into that starting rotation is a fantastic thing for the Padres to be excited about anyway. But I do think that Musgrove being, like, him planning on being here for an inning or two out of the bullpen does not feel ceremonial to me. Maybe feels like he can't commit to like a 60-inning workload and he's going to be cranking it out. But if we are the Padres making it into the playoffs, looking at, okay, we've got 2 or 3 starters locked down, but we are going to need to pitch the occasional bullpen game. Having Joe Musgrove in that bullpen, to me, is a fantastic check in the right direction. So that is another one where, when we're looking at the deals, not saying that Musgrove replaces Suarez as like the all-time closer or anything like that, but if no deals are made for our bullpen and we have to dish someone like Kolek or Bogaerts or someone like that, Musgrove's an automatic fit in there. If we don't make any moves, and the only dishing is cease for a bat or something like that, and the pitching staff stays as is, that just is us saying, hey, between now and the end of the season, we're going to add somebody into our bullpen that we implicitly, as a fan base, trust 100% to be there for any situation, let alone, like, you know, just say Cease goes 5 innings, throws 106 pitches, we're in it. Musgrove to throw the 6th, to then have some combo of our 3 all-star relievers, closing that out with Morihone, Adam, and Suarez. Like, that's a really good bullpen approach. So that's what I'm saying. These injury updates are starting to get even better. And then when I zoom out even further, another one that I'm really just excited about is 2 things that I'm excited about to close this out. One is that there is only really 2 other guys on the injury list. One of them is getting Tommy John and is not coming back until next year, so it's not worth talking about. The other one is Ethan Salas, our catcher. Ethan Salas is listed in a lot of different trade packages as a person that either people are saying, oh, he's a can't touch, or oh, he's a, like, this could be a good deal. And I know a lot of these are just the hypothetical Twitter trolls throwing out a million ideas, but there's a legitimate, he is the number 2 prospect right now for the Padres behind DeVries, and he's the number 22 overall prospect in all of baseball. He is a young catcher, so he is somebody that I think a lot of teams are hypothetically interested in. Right now, though, it is interesting to see him go from originally shut down through mid-July to it now just kind of being like, look, basically this season is going to be a wash. He might get some fall league at bats, but the Padres seem to be taking the internal approach of, we are not in any rush to have him come fix our catching situation. Let's just let him get completely healthy and rested. Why is this impactful for the trade deadline? You can't, at the major league, in MLB, you can't trade injured players. Now, this is the part where we whispered just amongst us as friends that, like, AJ Preller did get already in trouble for doing this once, so I guess you can get away with doing it, but semantics to that. So if you can't trade an injured player, I am curious in any of these packages that are being floated around if this is something where Salas not playing all season but still being healthy, just kind of being shelved for, like, oh, we're going to keep this thing pristine for later usage. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus for the trade deals. I don't know if that's something where they just are going to pop him off of the IL, say, oh, no, in reality, he's good. We just had him there, and we'll make the according moves, and then, boom, he's dished in a huge trade package. Or if this is something where other teams are going to look at it and be like, yeah, I get what you're saying about keeping a young guy healthy forever, but he's only got like 9 at-bats this season in the minors and a couple of spring training looks. We know what he's projected to be, but we don't want to take a flyer on that, and he might not actually have that trade value. So I think I'm a little more on that side, that teams at the deadline are not trying to take a flyer on a catcher who has, even though he is young and a highly touted prospect, has missed pretty much ostensibly the entire season with an injury that was supposed to have him be back from last month. I don't know. Let me know, though, what you think. That's it, though. That's all of the injuries. And I think that in and of itself, that is also good news for the San Diego Padres. And I'm sure some of you will sarcastically say, I wish Xander was on the IL so that we could get a new shortstop or something like that. But I will say that coming into the end of the season, to not be the walking wounded and look back and say, oh, man, we could have made a better run. We could have won the West. We could have, if only X, Y, or Z were not on the IL, is, to me, if nothing else, a fantastic litmus test for just like, is the blueprint working? Because you can't argue if the whole team goes out there and just drops a freaking stinker in the playoffs. No room for error on that, and you know within yourself that you can't hypothetical your way out of just like excusing that. You have to be like, okay, we as a team failed. We need to fix some of this. Right? You got the whole squad going in there, healthy. I like our chances better than some of these other teams that, like the Dodgers, maybe having to shut some of their pitchers down for the rest of the entire season. Like, yeah, they have they have a lead on us right now, but they don't have a lot of wiggle room if they keep getting progressively more and more injured to then in the playoffs be like, oh, we're really putting our best foot forward. So I kind of like where we're at. 2 major pitchers coming off the IL before the end of the season, and really the only other thing we have in that category is Ethan Salas, which I am fine with him not being traded because of the injury that may or may not really actually be like a big actual injury, or just something where it's like it's a young kid that we don't want to grind into dust before he gets to the majors. So as always, let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. If you could hit the subscribe button, it would be much appreciated. We got tons of trade deadline stuff to talk about for the next week or so. And then after that, we are locking in on all of the we're going to the ship type conversations. Until then, see you soon.